All right, we are back here on the Sky Guys podcast covering episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, and we got to discuss the real astrogation problem. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. As always, here, the man's voice narration every single week. Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. We have another episode of Skeleton Crew. Excited to see what you guys think.
Yep, also here with us today, the real Crimson Jack of this podcast, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. This is 7 episodes of the show or 8.
It's 8.
So we're almost, I mean, either way, we're almost halfway done.
Yeah, we're
Crazy.
almost halfway there. And joining us today, our first guest for the Skeleton Crew season here. The great Joe Simone is back with us. Joe, how are you?
Great. I'm glad to be the first guest for this show. I feel like it fits me well.
Yeah, and how are you enjoying it so far?
I really do like it. I think you have to, after the Alkali and how many dismal things have gone on. I think you kind of have to take a step back and just like reevaluate the whole Disney Star Wars. And I just I'm along for the ride and I'm liking it so far.
Yep, it's definitely fun to see where this goes here. And Pete, be on subscribers on the Sky Guys and do some Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys' favorite podcast platform for episodes there. And we're coming into the Just and the Suffering feed towards the end of the week. So if you want the episodes as soon as we do them, pretty much you want to be on this feed, subscribe here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? So subscribe. It's free. Helps us out. Helps you out. You get the episodes quicker.
Yep.
So definitely take a look. And yeah,
All right, Nick, people want to follow us on social media. How can I do that?
You can follow at Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok.
Yep, and you can also check out the video version here at Mike Phillips on YouTube. So we're gonna check out our social media comment of the week here. This is from friends of the podcast and Angela Cosifos, ACOS52, respond to our YouTube video. Something we missed last week. I'll give him credit for calling us out here. I think that Jude's Law's character is the pirate captain in the first episode. He doesn't know how to use the Force, just a magic trick. So part one confirmed, Pete. Part two TBD.
yeah. I mean, I had that thought. I don't think I just ever mentioned it, but that was my thought from the beginning. So it's funny that it just never came out on the episode. But yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, you can check out the YouTube version for all the props and stuff here. And also, Pete, just for you, this is from the 2024 Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar. We have a new Lego Ahsoka with the two white lightsabers.
Let me tell you something. I'm currently going through that advent calendar as well. My
Yeah,
fiance purchased that for me. It's my first Lego advent calendar ever.
yeah,
32 years old.
a lot of fun.
We're going strong. But yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely a cool little piece if you're a Star Wars Lego fan.
Yeah, the Millennium Falcon 2 days ago was a fun one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool little thing.
All right, so Nick, you want to get into some of our Star Wars news? We had some interesting stuff pop up this week.
Sure. Felicity Jones, who played Jyn Erso in Rogue One, says that she would like to return as Jyn Erso. I
That'll
don't
be
know
fun.
how that would happen unless it's obviously something that's a prequel to Rogue One, considering she's no longer with us, the character. So that wouldn't happen afterwards. But John Watson, Christopher Ford, who are the showrunners of Skeleton Crew, have already started planning a season two, and they saying there'd be a 3 to 4 year time jump between seasons to account for the growth of the child actors. I would imagine that means the show would be 3 or 4 years later from
I
now.
mean, if you look at it, Nick, and theoretically, it's basically like assume it takes like 2 years to produce the thing. The kids are gonna be older anyways. It makes sense just have a time jump built in. You don't have to explain why like the kids are going through
Yeah, yeah,
puberty.
of course. But if you do a 4 year time jump, the kid's better be 4 years older.
They'll look older enough.
Unless running yourself into a Gotham situation where you keep getting older and the kid looks like he's 12 in the last season.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Go Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon and recast.
Yeah, you do that too. I don't think they would, but actually maybe. Ahsoka season 2 is going to start filming in April in the UK, and the next one here is James Mangold. What is that? Oh, that's the Dawn of the Jedi movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he says that he and Bo Williams are still in the. Excuse me. Who's this guy?
Or Willimon.
Should I know him?
He did the Prison Break arc on Andor. He also was the guy behind
Oh,
House of Cards.
all right. So they're still in the process of writing the Dawn of the Jedi movie and hope to have a draft completed soon. Again, we've been over these movies countless times. We will see.
The last one's the wild one.
Yeah, lastly is the biggest news. I think it's kind of hit the Star Wars world. Is Jeremy Allen White, who's one of the stars of The Bear, has been casted in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that is set to come out in about a year and a half as the voice of Rhoda the Hutt, Jabba's son from the animated Clone Wars movie. And that, to me, is unbelievable.
Joe, did you ever think we hear the name Rada the Hutt again?
No, that was such a bad movie for such a great show. And his name is like Slappy or Stinky or
Inky.
some, yeah, something crazy. Like why you well, that's crazy.
Well, Pete, Jeremy Allen White is a very funny actor. I think it's good to have him in here, but there are also rumors going around the internet that Rada's going to be swole in this movie. So that'll be interesting to see a swole version of a Hutt.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'm curious how that's going to work, but yeah, let's see how it is. I mean, the casting sounds great. Never seen the show before, The Bear, but uh, but I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what they do in a year. What they give us.
Nick, it's a major missed opportunity if Ahsoka is not there to call the kid Stinky.
Yeah, true. I'm sure that will happen. I'm excited because of the acting, the casting choice, but the character choice and to include is insane to me. But we'll see.
Yep.
Can't judge it yet.
All right. That all we got here?
Yes, that's it.
All right. So let's get to our episode here. Very interesting as an astrogation problem. Very short episode, I believe about 33 minutes before the credits start rolling here. So
Yeah, and
a
you
little bit
still includes the
previously on.
recap of the week before, the little intro, so you're looking closer to like 31 probably.
Yeah. Not a ton of airtime here, Joe, but I feel like they accomplished they had to spin their wheels a little bit, but I think they did give us something fun out of it.
Yeah, I think, they covered a lot of ground with, a very, lighthearted comedic touch to everything. I don't know if it was everybody else, but I was having trouble without Googling placing where we were in the Star Wars timeline. And then that episode kind of confirmed it with me. They were talking about Republic credits, and then, all of a sudden we're like the Great War, and we're like, oh yeah, well, I know exactly where I am,
Yeah.
and a lot of clairvoyance.
Yeah, the time travel theory seems to be gaining more steam by the minute, Nick.
I don't think so. I have a theory now on what it is, but it's similar to time travel. I don't think it's time travel though.
All right, so let's get into this episode really quick. Like, I don't think it's take us too long to go through here, but the At Attin stuff is like literally the opening scene. That's it. And the interesting note here, Pete, is basically that the security droid calls the parent and says, "Your kid stole a ship. They got out past the barrier. The supervisor is not going to contact Republic for help because they went past illegally." So this to me feels more like just again something's going on at Attin and they're covering it up for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think my theory from last week still holds water. We can discuss that at a later date, but yeah, I mean, I think that there is obviously something that's being protected there, and it's been protected for a while. And they don't want to make communication outside of the world, so definitely something there.
Yeah, definitely something there here, and we get most of the rest of the episodes with Jod and the kids on Port
Well,
Morton.
Mike, sorry, before you move on, I want to touch on this ad added thing 'cause this is a good time to bring in the new theory of what's going on there.
Yes,
Um, so as we know, we're in 9 ABY right now. The show it takes place, I would assume, the same time as Mando season 3. Let's say that.
yes,
Maybe it's 10 ABY. I don't know. Whatever. Um, but they're still talking about the Republic. They don't call it the New Republic like everybody else does. They call it the Republic. They have Old Republic credits. That stuff we know. Now, the existence of this supervisor, I think, is really big.
yeah,
The fact that we know that there's somebody who contacts the Republic and no one else does leads me to believe it's not a time travel thing. It's more of a this world is completely blocked off and isolated from everything else, and the supervisor is the only one who knows what's going on outside of the bubble. So the citizens of At Attin don't even know that the war happened. Later on in the episode, they talk about Alderaan.
yeah.
They don't even know that this happened. They're just in the bubble. They still think the Republic is running strong. They don't even know about the Clone Wars, probably. They have no idea about any of it. They said something about how Jedi are the keepers of peace in the galaxy, not were.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on the outside world, and they're just sheltered from everything for whatever reason. So I'm sure we'll find out who the supervisor is at some point. I don't expect it to be someone we know. I'm just saying it's probably going to be a character we haven't met yet. But something, for whatever reason, the supervisor has sheltered this planet from the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, this feels almost like the bad plot point from Star Trek Insurrection, the ninth movie. I think the third Picard era cast, where like one of the things is that they basically find the planet's the eternal fountain of youth, and like these aliens have no idea what's going on in the outside world. They've been sheltered, so it's similar concept, but feels like they're executing it better than Star Trek did.
Yeah, that's what I'm almost positive of what's going on right now. Originally, we thought time travel because they were holding those old Republic credits, and when they leave the area, I don't. It's somewhat similar to time travel because when you're in the bubble, it's 40 years prior,
Yeah.
but it's not actually time travel.
Okay, so anybody else want to weigh in on this before we move on? All right, we'll go ahead to the stuff with Jod and the kids. And I think one of the interesting things here is that like we see this divide, Joe, between the boys and the girls in the group, where the boys immediately want to believe every word that Jod says. Like, I'm a Jedi. Like, yes, he's a Jedi. He did use the Force. And then Fern and KB, especially KB, gets a big highlight of this episode. It just doesn't trust him. And then they find out that they're right not to trust him because he's been, implying things, leading things on. So I thought that was a good sort of way to develop these characters a bit where like Fern is more world weary and like Wim is immediately willing to trust and then the two sides can start falling in line.
Yeah, it's like almost a maturity thing. It's kind of true that girls do mature faster than boys. You're clearly getting grifted here by, a guy in a jail cell, and your first thing is, he's a Jedi. Oh, it's a Jedi temple. They're kind of in this mess because he's just kind of hoping for something that for all intents and purposes, doesn't really exist anymore, but he's holding on to it because he's been sheltered. Or I kind of think of a lot of like 80s movies going on here. We got like Goonies and then Truman Show. Like I feel like they're inside the Truman world here, and then they finally broke out. But I think it's really interesting to see how she even pulls the gun on them, and though she doesn't know how to use the gun, she's like not afraid to use it if she knew how.
Yeah, Pete, did you like how they split the kids in these two camps out who's trust Jods and who doesn't?
Yeah, I think it's important to the character development and how things are going to go for the rest of the show. I think that I mean, similar to Joe's point, I mean, there's going to be two people or a couple people that are not going to trust and a couple people that are blindly trusting. I feel like it's very, I use the word cookie cutter, but I feel like it's been done before, but it works well. It's not forced. Like I've always, mentioned about criticism is something forced and stuff. So, I think it's good. I think if everyone just blindly follows Crimson Jack, it's just not going to give that push pull effect that you get with a storyline. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's good here. And we see they break out. The kids basically, John's ready to just get out of Dodge right now and sort of say, okay, I'm out of here. And then they're like, no, we can't abandon our droid. He saved us. So he goes back in. And then, Nick, I appreciated this that the show immediately saw that, like, addressed the elephant in the room that we knew that Jude Law was Captain Silva in episode one. Instead of dragging it out for 6 episodes like the Acolyte would have done or some other shows would have done, they had acknowledged, like, yeah, that's where I am. Like, I'm just, trying to get a score. So I think it was nice they actually gave us that answer immediately and let us play with that for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, when he's out there, he runs into
His
the
buddy.
old droid,
Yeah.
the separatist droid, and that person that he runs into, the old buddy, I forget his name. He's voiced by Alfred Molina.
Yes. It's a Spider-Man reunion.
Yeah, that was a Spider-Man reunion there, huh?
Yeah, it was Denjar Krennic.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, that was Doc Ock.
Yeah, so Doc Ock basically calls him out. It's like, you're not supposed to be out of your cell. And then, like, pandemonium ensues. They get away, and they got that really fun sequence. They're hyperspace jumping with the gas line attached to the thing. And This did crack me up, Joe, and he's like, like that's a really strong gas line. He's trying to just like, rip it away from the ship.
Just trying to get out of Dodge and do it the
Yeah,
fastest way possible.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a
Hyperspace jump.
pirate after all.
Yeah, hyperspace jump with a gas line was definitely a new one.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of hyperspace skipping, or what was it called in the films?
Uh,
Jumping.
I think it was called skipping.
Yeah, skipping, but I think it was played a little well because it was kind of like you said, it's just like rip off the Band-Aid. You didn't have to do a minute long montage of world jumping.
Yeah, and there's a fun little Easter egg. I don't know if you guys caught it. I found this out. Collider said this here, but if you look at there's a wide shot of the ships here. I'm gonna put this on the YouTube version as well. Mike Phillips on YouTube. You want to check us out here? And you see this little ship down here at the bottom. That is Hondo's ship.
That is bad news.
Yeah, they teased us with Hondo, and not
That's bad news because if that's his ship, it leads me to believe he was there and we didn't see him.
yeah, the kids didn't run into him.
Right.
Well, hopefully they're setting them up for the Mando Grogu movie. We get to see some.
We've all come to the agreement if we don't see Hondo here, we're not seeing Hondo.
It's not happening if he's not in this show.
That's definitely a missed opportunity. They have him on the Disney ride. Recognizable face. Fine once you bring him in, but I guess you don't want to overuse him.
Yeah,
Is there any issue with the voice? I mean, they can always get another one, but is there an issue with the voice actor for Hondo? Like,
he's still alive and well.
is he like maybe like bad, like maybe
No,
like not good standing with
he
Disney
hasn't,
or something?
he hasn't pulled a Gina Carano as far as I'm aware.
Is this Jim Cummings? Is that the
Yeah.
guy?
Yes.
Why not? He was Cat and Cat Dog.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was. And while this is going on, they do get away. KB basically, the pirates put a bounty on the John and the crew, going to get away. KB is the one who's been like sketched out by him the most here. I did think there was a good scene when John tells him to go to bed, and basically she wakes up and says, "Here, I've calculated the odds. You're definitely not a Jedi." And he says, "You know what? Like, good job. Trust your gut, kid. Like, you have good head on your shoulders." And he's used the Force, turn the lights off. So I do like the way he's deliberate with the kids, Pete, where like he will kind of go with their things, not to alarm them, and sort of like give them cons. Like, I'm still much older than these kids. I can handle whatever sessions they have.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the most of Jude Law we got in the show so far, and I think he plays the character very well. And like you mentioned, just going along with the kids, trying not to show his hand, um, very pirate-esque, right? I think he does a phenomenal job, and I think the character development we see for that character throughout the episode, as short as it may be, you do get that effect of, I am hiding a little something. I'm not going to tell you everything at once, and I'm going to keep my, cards close to the vest. So definitely a great character, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we get a little bit more of him, Joe, because we end up going to this outpost that he says, like, I have a friend who can help us like navigate and find where the map is for the planet, but my friend might not fully trust me. So we see this going on, and we get this character Kim, who, in typical weird Star Wars spelling, is not the typical way you spell the word Kim, but like it's this awesome owl-looking character who's in an outpost and basically says like, I see Crimson Jack. He's got kids. Something is up here. So like I'm gonna try and stall a Cold Republic so they can arrest him and get him back in jail. So definitely, I think the Kim character was a fun character to have for this episode.
Oh yeah, I think it was by far the best scene in the whole episode. It might be in the whole series so far. I think, we're pulling out that, even not to even see something on a hologram or screen is cool to see, like, some scroll rolled out, like show how old it is. And a great character. You don't really see too many. I mean, you see like the fish and whatnot. Is like the first kind of bird we've seen in the Star Wars universe, which kind of, brings it back to Earth a little bit.
And Nick, how'd you like Kim?
Yeah, I thought Kim was great. Spelling is ridiculous. It's KH''YMM.
Yeah, yeah,
That
because
is the actual spelling of Kim. But no, Kim was a great character. Very knowledgeable, wanted to protect the kids, seemed like she was interested in helping. And at the same time, I mean, did stab him in the back, but it was only to save them. It's
Yeah,
only to help the kids. It wasn't just to be to be an ass.
yeah, because like she thought that Crimson Jack, as she's calling him, kidnapped the kids.
Right. So she
Yeah,
was just trying to protect them, and she did tell KB on the way out, like, if you need me, you can call me.
yeah,
I don't think that was by accident, and I'm assuming we'll see her again.
yeah. I think we will see her again here, and
I was gonna be Maz Kanata for a second.
yeah, it's very similar voice sound, but it was not.
I thought the
We were
same
approaching the
thing.
place. I was like, "Is this Maz Kanata's backstory a little like not really backstory? We have a lot of it from other media that's in the movies, but I was like, is this where she's gonna be at this time?"
Yeah, is a wild scene here, and like we do find out that Pete, that Kim and Ja go way back, and she calls him Crimson Jack as his name to the kids. And are you familiar with the legends details about Crimson Jack?
You know, I'm not. The first thing I thought of was Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
Don't know if there's any correlation, but I do not know the lore.
Yeah, Crimson Jack's a Legends character. Nick can correct me if I'm wrong on this one here. He is like a pirate in the Legends backstory. Is a big rival of Han Solo, I believe. At one point, like he's trying to collect the bounty Jabba puts on him, and then they end up having like a Wild West style gunfight in space where Han like is quicker on the draw and kills Crimson Jack. So I think that is the lore on him. So I think it's fun to have that character pulled into current continuity.
So it's all true, but there's a series of Marvel com or Star Wars Marvel comics that came out like 2, 3 years ago called the heck God, the pronunciation's gonna kill me here. The Hackleon Legacy,
Yep.
and he is in those as well. Those are canon, and there are six of those. Now the character looks nothing like Jude Law, so we're not sure at this point in time if this is going to be the same character. I really don't think so, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's more like he's a direct pull to
I
Legend.
think it's just a different. I think it's just a name. We do not believe this is the same character. You just share the name, but that character that you're referring to, Crimson Jack, has been brought into canon.
Yes. So
So
Joe,
yeah, there's a legend story of him, there's canon story of him, and we are now using the name Crimson Jack for our character. What are we even calling him?
Jod.
Jod.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think about the Crimson Jack stuff?
I thought he is, a great character, and I think shows how truly shifty he is. Is he going by different names with different people? And is this truly Crimson Jack, or is he Jod, or is he
Bilbo.
act? Yeah, he could be, anybody. So I think it really plays into his character as, it's kind of this like fluid kind of Jack Sparrow, like, yeah, I'm just, whatever you need me to be.
Yeah, and Pete, it works because like Jude Law plays him so charming, where like you like know that like he's probably trying to con you, but like you still want to like say like he's not too bad, and maybe we can like work with him to a point.
I think that's what makes a great character in general, especially a villain. I'm not saying that he's a villain in this, but
Yeah.
we've talked about ad nauseum before on this podcast for anything. Nick's probably favorite part about villains is that you can relate to them and you can like them, right? And I agree wholeheartedly. I think that his charm and his and a little bit of wit there, and like I said, that secrecy is what keeps you drawn into that character, and I think he plays it very well.
Yeah, for sure. This is now we can go. We get the big info dump here from Kim about the situation about At Attin, and then we heard from Jude Law's character, Josh, like this is a myth, and Kim says it's believed to be a myth, but she's always believed it's true. We found out that there are these jewel worlds, the Old Republic. There was like, there were seven of them that she mentioned, and the Attin's the only one left.
Yeah, I think I don't know the number, but yeah.
It's like six or seven of these worlds. At Attin's the only one left, and says they were purposely protected by the Old Republic. And she asked the kids, like, what have you been up to? It's like, we were trying to get ready for the great work. And she's like, interesting. It's like, what plans do you know about? It's like, well, we were talking about Alderaan and Coruscant in school. And she's like, you know nothing about the war. And like, what war? So it goes
Yeah.
back to the point Pete made earlier about like these kids have been sheltered from like the outside universe. If this is,
I actually think they've been sheltered for longer than we think because think about this. They call it the Republic. They're not going to call it the Old Republic
yeah,
unless and they use Old Republic credits.
yeah,
I think they're way back. I don't even think they know about like the Republic from the prequels. I think they're way before that even.
They may not even know about what happened to the Acolyte.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. I think this is the old Republic, like from 1,000 years prior, more.
Yeah,
Because the Republic that we knew from the prequels had stood for about 1,000 years. That's what Palpatine had said in Attack of the Clones.
yeah,
And the one before that was the Old Republic. That lasted like 20,000 years. I think that's the one that they think is the governing body right now. The
yeah,
Old Republic.
yeah. Yes, interesting to see how that plays out. We got a little bit more here with that, and at this point, Crimson Jack catches on that Kim is stalling up for them. He ends up catching on the Republic is coming, so they end up getting out, have a big fight. They escape. This is the moment where KB goes back to check on Kim. He's like, "I'm okay, but like if you need help, call me." So the character connection here for KB. I think had a big episode this week.
Yeah. And I think we're gonna get that connection again later in the in the season. So, yeah, it was pretty cool, and I do like Kim's character as well.
Yeah, Kim tells her, use your head and trust, and you can use me for help if you need to. And then this works out, Joe, and they go back to the ship, and Jude Law is like, let's get out of here. And they're like, hold on, man, we want the truth right now. It's like, are you actually a Jedi? And he's like, well, I didn't say, I never said I was. And at one point, I think it's the whim shock face is great.
Yeah, he's like, oh, my all hopes and dreams are lost. You kind of like, even when he was talking about them, they asked point blank, she continues, it's like, oh, she take us home? And he's like, of course. So he's actually not, obviously, clearly con artist, not, playing harp strings. And it's just like a great, keeps adding to the mystery that is, Jod and, everything that he is. And what are we know he's always after the treasure, but is he actually going to take them home, or is he going to, spend something else? It's just like it's constantly on your seat.
Yeah, and Nick, I do think it's interesting where we have this negotiation situation where we see sort of Fern basically says you know what, we can work to John's like, let's work together. Like, I'll get you guys home. I'll get a nice little finder's fee, and then I'll be on my way. And he's like, no, you work for us, and you're gonna help us get home, and we'll figure out what happens after that. So they drive a hard bargain here, and I think that's important to get the kids' agency here with Jai, whereas it's not as fun where Jude Law is basically bossing them around.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a different thing than we're used to seeing. We've complained before on this podcast that not only Star Wars, but it seems like every show ever now is a kid who's lost and someone guiding them. It's The Last of Us. It's every Star Wars show.
Mandalorian. Yep.
It seems like it's everything nowadays. So it looks like it's. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Let's be real in this, but it's a little bit different that they're kind of calling the shots.
Yeah, Pete, I think I like that as well. Is where it gives the kids more agency in the storyline, especially KB and Fern sort of we're right not to trust him and basically call my and then basically say we have information on you that we can use to our advantage in order to get what we want out of it, as opposed to you just guiding me everywhere I need to go.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it gives it a little bit of variety, and I think it makes Crimson Jack the supporting character, right? I think that when you see Jude Law and you hear Jude Law is such a big name in Hollywood, you probably think he's going to be the main actor, but it kind of gives that separation that no, the four kids are going to be the main characters here, and Crimson Jack is the support role.
Yeah, Joe, he's sort of the hired muscle for them. We're yeah, you're our pilot, you're gonna get us home. He's sort of paralleling Han Solo a little bit from A New Hope.
Yeah, it's Amin Sien and the girls definitely play a better job of, trying to stay on task and using every, available resource they have. I like that they were like, oh, we're going back and getting the droid, and that was their main objective, and it shows that they actually care, and it's a nice little, quip.
Yeah, it is a good quip here. And any thoughts on the big fight sequence here where the kids basically two of the Fern and Wim get to shoot at New Republic TIE fighters. They don't kill anybody. They do enough damage they can buy time to get over the barrier and jump to hyperspace. So I thought this was a fun way to end the episode.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of New Hope, as you just mentioned. It's like you see in Luke in your head, just screaming for him and TIE Fighter, and you can see that in Wim's expression, and you kind of get the nostalgia that everybody loves when watching Star Wars.
Yeah. Nick, it did make me laugh though when it reminds their kids like when like Fern and Wim were arguing about whose shot actually connected. That got me laughing a little bit.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add on the episode before we get to all our trackers and stuff we deal with?
No.
All right. So we'll go ahead to our trackers here. So we will go ahead here and we will start out with the character draft. So everybody, first time listeners to the show know that like as we do a Star Wars show, we do a character draft in the preseason to look ahead and see which characters might show up over the course of the season. So Joe, you can take a look here at the board and we'll take a look, see what we have going on here. So we had my team has Hondo and near miss with his ship showing up and not him, Memphis Nest and Mayfeld. Pete has Mando, Chopper, and Jason Sandula. Nick with a near miss that Carson Taylor would not be the guy flying the X-Wing, Zev and Grogu. So what do you think about these teams?
I have to say, I love each and every team right here. Hondo was you almost had it, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's coming through. I would love to see Chopper more. That's my favorite character from Rebels. I just think he's mad.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do think Nick, were you surprised it was not Carson Taylor having me in that one X-Wing?
Once we started hearing the voices, but we weren't seeing them. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it's not him. And or else they would have shown him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really bad news because there's an X-Wing showing up and it wasn't him. That leads me to believe he's crossed F.
Yeah, it's like he's probably somewhere else in the galaxy right now.
I don't think we're going to see him in the show, or else I think we just would have saw him.
He's probably over with Hera, whatever they're doing right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll update our trackers next, the things we keep track of every single week on the podcast. Only two hit this week, so we got a new name pirate, Pete. We got Alfred Leah's Denjar Krennic, so we're up to 5 named pirates of the season.
In 3 episodes is pretty good.
Yep, and Nick, we are giving credit to the battle droid showing up as a cameo, so 2 cameos.
Of course. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's our two. We have those are only two that hit this week, so we're still waiting on the memes. I think we might get a meme soon.
Maybe. We have to see. It's going to be hard for us to tell on the podcast. We're going to have to tell later on. For
Yeah,
all we know, there was something that's going to become a meme in this episode, and we didn't know about it, you know?
yeah. So that's something we'll keep on our social media channels for, see like which
Yeah.
ones pop up in our feed. So now we'll go ahead to our MVP, LVP board. These are the best and worst characters of the season as rated by us. This is the first 2 episodes. Fern and Neil tie at the top of the board at +2. Brutus and the writers get a positive point here. -1 security droids. Wim's dad got -2 points, and Wim himself -3. Bring up the rear. So I believe we're gonna start with Nick this week. So Nick, give me your MVP for the week.
KB, hands down.
Yeah, great episode, KB.
Great episode, and right at the end, just pressing him for the truth and saying, no, you work for us, and actually getting him to say yes to that was more than enough to be the MVP.
Joe.
So with Josh, my man, whether he has powers of the Force or not, he's drifting his way through the galaxy, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it to KB as well. Honorable mention to Kim because I think she does a good job of sort of helping KB get to where she is. But KB, we were talking about this last week, Pete. Also, we were sort of like she's the only one we don't really have much of a feel for. We got a lot more of KB this week that helped us out a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm going to give KB my MVP as well. I think that Crimson Jack is a better character. I feel like there's a lot more there, but I think she did the best in this episode. So MVP to KB.
All right, so the LVP, Joe, who was the worst character of the week?
I think it's always Wim. He's just he's just he's hard. I hate to say this about a little kid, but he's kind of hard to like. He's very dweebish.
Yeah, he's very gullible.
yeah, and he really wants to meet a Jedi, which I don't blame him. I think that's all how we all got involved in Star Wars, pretending to be a Jedi or either way, Sith, Jedi, lightsabers. It's fun seeing his little comic book visual thing, but he's just so gullible.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna give my LVP point to the pirate gang because you had Jod and four children in a brig, and they somehow escaped with the droid, and there's a bunch of you with guns, and you couldn't keep them in the base. So bad job from the pirate gangs. I'll give them the LVP. So Pete, where are you going?
Yeah, the same. The pirate gang. It's almost like saying the Empire, like we always did. But I agree. I mean, just letting these people walk. I mean, those are the only children in that hangar base, whatever it is, and you don't recognize that they're walking around. So
Yeah.
they get the LVP.
Also, underrated point from Jod, by the way, when he asked the kids, "You want to go where there's nobody, or want to go where there's everybody?" And the kids are like, "Nobody." They're like, "It's like, nah, you go where everybody is. So you can kind of sneak into the crowd as opposed to being spotted immediately if you run into someone."
Right.
Nick, you can round us out here.
So I'm saying the same as you guys, but I'd like to change the name here.
Okay.
I think we need to just, I was gonna say before we did this, I think this just goes on Brutus because he's the leader, and I think it makes more sense to just say it's Brutus's fault than say the pirate gang. Because at the end of the season, when we look back, I think it's just easier to say Brutus was the one who messed up. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, he's like it's supposed like saying who's the pirate gang.
Yeah, I think Brutus is our answer here that we're all trying to say because he's the one who should be at least, having the security set up, whatever it may be, you know?
Yes, and like once they figure out they escaped, he had no real plan except for just shoot randomly at things.
Yeah, I'm
All
going
right.
with Brutus.
All right, so I'll modify mine and Pete's to Brutus, so he's gonna take a hit next week. Now we're gonna grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. One is worse than 1970 Holiday Special. 10 is out there at the Prison Break episode of Andor for the pinnacle of Star Wars content. I'll start us out here. I would give this one a 6.5. It was short, but it was fun. I thought we had some good dynamics with John and KB. I think we got some fun lore teases here. We moved the Mr. Attin forward a bit. Not a home run. It's hard to hit a home run in 31 minutes of screen time. I think they did fine. So 6.5 for me. Pete.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. I think that it is a quote unquote filler episode. We get some character development, and I think it's a very important episode. However, um, like you said, not a home run, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So 6.
Yeah, they seem to do better in the 30-minute episodes than a lot of these other Star Wars shows do.
Yeah, I agree.
Nick.
I was much higher on this. I'm giving this an 8.
Wow.
To me, this was the opposite of a filler. We were in jail, we got out of jail, we went to the other planet, we left the other planet. I think a lot of things happened in this episode. It moved really quickly, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Joe, you want to round us out?
I'm gonna go with the nice average here and put a 7 on it. I said this before, is a lot of classic cinema references in there, and I hate to call Pirates of the Caribbean classics cinema these days, but they're in the jail and they meet Jack Sparrow, or in this case, Jod, and they make a deal, and we're out the door, and then it's nice. Well, I think it was a little slow in the beginning. I think it ended great, so like 7 is good, happy medium.
Yeah, remember, this is not school. 5 is average. So we're all saying it's above average episode.
Very true. Very true.
All right. So last but not least, predictions for next week. So Pete, you want to lead us off here? What do you think is happening in the next episode?
I don't think those coordinates are accurate. I think we're gonna wind up somewhere random and get into another adventure before they can get home. It's too early in the season to get the finale, right? So we definitely have a wild goose chase, I think, for this planet.
Yeah, so they were end up in the middle of another like seedy place.
Yeah, 100%.
Nick.
Uh, So I have to agree with Pete. I'm going to say the exact same thing, but I wanted to ask. Let's just say for sake of argument that those coordinates are right. How can that work? Like, how would they have 5 episodes if those coordinates are right? Like, is there any way in your mind that you think it would somehow work? Like, he's there and he starts fighting the parents or something weird, and he
There would
finds
have
out what's going on with the supervisor, maybe?
to be shenanigans at the barrier too. They couldn't get back in.
I mean, if I may, they could have this whole getting the kids home be a ruse to be the actual plot. And the plot is exposing the corruption of this hidden planet.
Yeah.
They get finally
Maybe.
get back and people, he recognizes what's going on and more people come in. It could be a whole like precursor to the actual plot of the show.
I
But
mean, I agree with Pete with the quarters being wrong, but that would be really cool if they were right. And I was this close to my prediction being right last week. I said that it was going to be about the parents on At Attin, and the opening scene was, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is going to be the episode," and then it just wasn't.
Okay, Joe.
I kind of agree. I'm saying Kim gave them the wrong coordinates on purpose because she's too smart to just give over the goods when she's waiting on the rebels, the New Republic to come in, and she knows exactly where they're going. And main priority for her is getting the kids. Does she have an ulterior motive of getting treasure for herself? I think we will find out.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a slightly different direction here. And we heard a couple times episode that like John basically say, "Oh, like that's your ship. Your ship kind of sucks." I feel like we're gonna have a malfunction with the ship, and we're gonna have to stop. We're gonna end up having to like make a deal with somebody to like get like you do this job for me, and like I'll help you repair your ship. So we might get like the Mando job episode where like John has to do a mission for somebody to get the ship fixed.
Okay.
I think that's the way you can drag it out a little bit. The coordinates are right, where like they're going to go there. Oh, we ran out of fuel, or oh, our hyperdrive is down. We have to go barter for parts.
that could happen.
All right, so we'll be back next week to cover episode 4, the halfway point here. So just so the audience knows, right now the target date here is we're aiming to actually record right after the episode airs on Tuesday. So this might be an early episode drop for you guys, but we'll keep you up posted on that. Joe, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate all the insights you had on this show. A lot of fun chatting with you as always.
Thank you very much. Love being on the show as always. Pleasure.
It's a pleasure as always. Pete, if you want to follow you on social media, how can I do that?
At Consy29 on Twitter, CONSY29, AP Tyler 308 created this background on Reddit, so make sure you check them out.
Nick, one more time. If you want to follow us on social media, how can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok.
Yeah, you can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. Very busy week over on the Just on the Suffering podcast week. We already have 2 episodes out as of record time here. We did the instant reaction, the Mets getting Juan Soto. Nick, your brother, came on. We did the Yankee offseason think tank. After they lost Juan Soto, we're going to have NFL picks later this week. So 3 regular Just on the Suffering episodes this week.
There's a lot going on in the sports world. You're in full swing in the NFL and NBA and NHL seasons, and you have MLB offseason winter meetings. So there's a lot going on. And you have the college football playoffs coming up, and college basketball just started. So everything's going on at the same time right now.
Yeah, thanks for the tease for next week. Next week, we're doing college football playoff on Just on the Suffering. I'll mention that again, though, when we get to that episode.
Yes, there's a lot going on, so it makes sense that you got a lot of episodes.
Yep, we'll be back next week to cover episode 4 of the Skeleton Crew. And again, early record time from us. That's the plan right now. We'll see how this goes. But until then, may the force be with you.